Listen, for 18 years, my practice, after 2.5 months, I almost went out of business. I had been to a Parker seminar in college. I didn't know what it was, but when I went, I thought it was cool. And when I get out, I figured out pretty quick that I didn't know what I was doing from a business standpoint. So I went and got coaching at Parker seminars, and it was all over from there. So I had coaching all through my career. But I was stuck, so my practice grew in a 3-year period of time up to about 300 patients a week. And after that, 18 years, I was stuck at that level. You know, it didn't seem to matter what I did, no matter how hard I tried, and I tried every marketing gimmick, I tried every ethical, every legitimate, and even a couple illegitimate ideas to get new patients into my practice. And you know what? I can get it up to, one or two times I got it over 400, but guess what? It just kept falling back down. Your practice, write this down if you're taking notes, your practice is stuck at the level of your capacity. You're stuck at the level of your capacity, and you're at a block. There's something that's keeping you from moving up to the next level. And I can pretty much, after I talk to you for 5 or 10 minutes, I can pretty much tell you what it is. If I have time, I'll get into that a little bit later. But I want to tell you, when I decided that this bigger game was on the inside of me and I was really going to go for it, I had no idea what that meant. I had no clue where it was going to go. But you know, that burning desire inside of me, what I did is I just let it grow. I just decided I was going to start believing in it and stop believing in the negative self-talk that was in my head. And I started paying attention to my spirit. I started paying attention to my gut. I started paying attention to the message that I believed that God was sending me in here. And I started paying attention to it, and I started listening, and I started looking, and I started listening to everything and anything because I was totally cued in. It was totally put my antenna on, and I was cued in. It didn't matter to me if a mule would have come up to me and told me the next best secret. I would have listened because I was cued in. And if God could have talked through a mule, I was prepared to listen because I was ready for it. I was so ready for it. Now listen. So in 18 months, my practice grew from 300 patients a week to best week, 1,552 visits. 1,552 visits. One chiropractor, me, the same staff. I didn't change wives. I didn't change offices. I didn't change techniques, and I didn't change churches. I didn't change the color of my hair. I didn't change the car I drove or the house I lived in. Only thing that changed was in here and in here, and that's what I want to share with you tonight. I don't know what your vision is for yourself, but it's got to get bigger. If your vision doesn't get bigger for what you've got going on, your capacity is blocked at that level, and you're not going any further. I've been unofficially for a lot longer period of time, but officially I've been coaching since 2003, worked with a bunch of chiropractors, and if you haven't figured this out, I'm going to teach you something tonight, and that is this: your practice is a direct reflection of you. Your practice is a direct reflection of you. So you want to look in the mirror, you want to see where your strengths are, look at your practice. You want to see where your weaknesses are, look at your practice. Because there's a direct reflection, and sometimes it's not a pretty spot to look at. You've got financial problems in your office, you've got all these people coming into you, and they're complaining that they don't have enough money, and they can't pay for your care, and they want to quit. Guess what? You attract that stuff into you because that's a reflection of you. Now I realize it's not, I don't make it a general statement, but in large, those kinds of things are true. When you're hyped up, when you're fired up, when you've got certainty that's up here, guess who comes to see you? Do you have acute low backs coming to see you when your certainty, your chiropractic certainty is up here? Do you have cricks and strains and back pain and neck kinks and things like that come to see you? Heck no! What do you get? If you don't have a handicap ramp at your clinic, you better get one, because you're going to have people that have MS. You're going to have people that haven't been out of a wheelchair in years. You're going to have people that come to you with terminal cancer. I can't tell you how many cancer patients that we have come to our practice. They don't come to get rid of their cancer. At least they don't say that when they come. I don't know why they come sometimes, but they show up, and they got all kinds of problems. Chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, they're taking 27 different medications. And that's no exaggeration. I'm going to quickly tell you the 5 things, or the 4 things that changed for me. And I hope this is going to help you. What I did, when I had this burning desire inside of me, that I had a bigger game in me, I decided that I needed to do some things differently. Say, do some things differently. Write it down. If you're not taking notes, write that down. I need to do some things differently. Listen, it's not the definition of insanity to do the same things over and over and expect to get a different result. It's a definition of stupidity. Yes? Yes or no? Yes. You've got to change your environment. You've got to get around people that think different. Listen, if you're going to change your life, you need to start thinking differently between your ears. And until you do, nothing's going to change, because you're going to be blocked, and your practice is going to have a glass ceiling in it. You're going to keep hitting your head on it, and you're going to go home sucking your thumb to your spouse and telling them how bad it was and why it's not growing, that your practice is down 15 or 20% this year and it's 10% the year. I hear all these stories all week long. I had to change my environment. Here's what I did. I joined a coaching program that was $14,000 a year. And I didn't have the $14,000 a year. But you know what? I didn't know where it was going to come from. But I figured out, I don't know, I had this dumb philosophy in my life, and it doesn't make a lot of logical sense. But I just decide, when I'm going to make a decision like this, if I feel really good about my gut, I just figure, you know what? I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'll figure it out when I get there. That's too often, very often that's my attitude. Once in a while it gets me in trouble, most of the time it doesn't. So I changed my environment. What I did is I got around a group of chiropractors that decided, I joined a group of chiropractors that wanted to see 1,000 patients a week. Now remember, I'm at 300 patients a week. I did not want to see 1,000 patients a week. And most of you, if you were honest, you'd say, you know what? He can get up there and he can yell and scream all he wants, but I don't want to see 1,300 patients a week. Well, guess what? It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of wear and tear. And you probably don't want to do it for a long period of time, because it is. But I'll tell you what, there's people that need it. Doesn't mean you can't run a clinic that's got 4 or 5 doctors in it. They're going to see a few thousand people a week. Say yes? Yes. So I got in an environment of chiropractors that wanted to see 1,000 patients a week. That was the common denominator of this group of about 25 doctors. I never told them I didn't want to see 1,000 patients a week. I wanted to see 450 or 500 people a week. I figured, look, I already lived in a big house. I had 2 brand new cars in my garage all the time. My kids went to private school. I have a great wife. I had 3 acres of ground. I had a ton of debt, but I had a lot of cool stuff. Took wonderful vacations. I had all the stuff, but I still had that burning desire in here. So guess what? I never told them that I wanted to see that I didn't want to see 1,000 patients a week. But you know what? I somehow figured out in my gut that if I just hung around them and I started thinking enough, got around people that wanted to have a bigger practice, that things would change for me. It's called the law of association. The people you hang with are the people you start thinking like. The people you spend time with are the people you start acting like. You want to get more successful, start hanging around with more successful people. You want to see more patients, go around. There are chiropractors, Kevin and Selena, are speaking, I believe, tomorrow. At that point, they were one of the offices I went to. They were seeing 900 patients a week. And I had to suck up my pride and go to their office, and you wouldn't believe what I learned when I went. Change your environment. The second thing I did is I got a heart transplant. You know what? I seriously got a heart transplant. Because up to that point, I was doing it for me. I wasn't doing it for them. And when I finally got my own selfish interests out of the way, and I started getting in a state of unconditional love with all my patients, and I put the money out of my mind, that's when things really started to flip and really started to change. So I got a heart transplant. The next thing I did was I started to visualize. I hope this is my water. If it's not, we'll both live. The next thing I did, close your eyes right now.